and welcome to Comfy Cozy Up. So today we are going to be talking about books that we've read in January. Yay. Anyway, January was just a long month for me. I'm just so happy it is over. So I made a commitment this year to utilize the library. So I was able to read books that are from the library. I was also got back on NetGalley. I'm not really big on a lot of ARCs that I've gotten in the past. So I figured, you know what, let's stick to the ebook for now and get ARCs that I really want to read. Why? Because the library hold time on new books is ridiculous. There's 2 new books that I put on hold back the beginning of January, and I have literally like 10 people in front of me for one, even with 3 books circulating. And there is another book that is even longer, which means we're talking 3-4 months kind of wait. So I said, you know what, get on NetGalley and try and get some of these new releases that are coming up that I want to read, and do it that way for now until some of these books, or if anything, if I like the books, I'll purchase a book. With that said, I did fairly well. So I read 5 books, and the reason why I didn't read more than that, because I read one of the big books. But I spoke about 3 of the books already, and 2 books I did not. So we're gonna not focus too long on the other books because I did a full review on those. So I have my reading journal here, and let's talk about the 2 library books that I had to return that I don't have. And I started with Roadrunner. And this is a Trisha R. Thomas book, and this is a very mystery suspense kind of story that follows a couple, and we have a famous baseball player who had an injury, and as a result he became addicted to prescription medicine and completely destroyed his career. So he's going through it, and eventually he took a bad turn and took it out on his wife, which resulted in a police officer coming to the house. Said police officer was a little bit wonky, and things happened where there was an accident and he doesn't know if the guy's alive or not. Eventually you realize the husband's alive, but where is he? Who has him? So that's where the little suspense come in. But while that's happening, the policeman is inserted himself in the woman's life with her kids. And it's just so chaotic and drama with this. But I thought it was interesting, and it is definitely a page turner. But it's also giving the whole through thickness and through the good times and the bad times kind of marriage. You know, we're gonna put up with whatever because we love each other. BS. So that was a part of the story I felt was like quite funny. But nevertheless, I did find myself engaged. So I like this because I got it from the library and I didn't purchase it. I think I would purchase if it was like, you know, a used bookstore and it was in good condition. But yeah, other than that, no. Nonfiction. So I am doing well already for the beginning of the year. So I have a nonfiction under my belt now, and that is thick, and that is Tracy Millen Cottom. Amazing. She did amazing with this. This is a collection of essays that really pack a punch and talks about a lot of different things. Talks about beauty, talks about race, and talks about the elite within the Black community, and how one is separated, especially from African American, non-African American situation like that. But she asks a lot of things, or she posts a lot of questions that I never thought of. And also she had one particular essay that was a trigger response to a previous writing that she had, where the way it was presented, it struck a nerve. And so when she talks about that, I was very intrigued by it. I wanted to know what the original, would I have had the same reaction as everyone else. But how she defended her take on that essay is what I really enjoyed, because I find that if you are going to have this strong reaction, a strong opinion about something, you better be able to defend it in a way to have the opposing person think about it and try to see where your point of view is coming from. And she did an amazing job with that. I love this entire collection. It's a lot of things going on in there. This was a library pick. This was also a subscriber pick. and it's going to be bought. I want this nonfiction in my collection. It's very a thin book, but I really think it was amazing. So the next book is Swift River, and this is Essie Chamber. This is a debut book that came out last year, and this one is YA, another book that I did not genre that I did not read in 2024. So I did get now a YA under my belt, and it's following a young girl. She is around 16 at this point in the story, but when she was 7 years prior, her father disappeared and only left his, I believe, his shoes and something else at the river. And so they had to wait 7 years to declare him dead because they did not want, I guess by law, in that town. They're also the only black family in that town, and in retrospect, she's the only black person because her mom is white. And she's biracial. So there's that thoughts of people reporting that they saw the man, that said any black man got to be him, that kind of deal. But she's really like going back and thinking about the time, the memories that she did have with her father, with her mother and her father relationship and hers. And also she's now learning about her father's heritage through her aunt, who was sending her things, and she's reading about it and knowing her father's lineage and how they were from that town at one point. So there's a lot of racial things happening, but she's also a teenager, so she's going through the motion of grief and also being a teenager, growing and learning things and discovering things, and she's, you know, doing some of the things that were for me was annoying, but I had to remind myself that this is a YA. I am not the targeted audience for this. So there's moments where I have to remind myself this is not an adult, this is a child. So she's going to do and allow certain things to happen because she doesn't know any better. So with that, I like that. I do like the flashback to the past in terms of the heritage thing. And it made me think of the other book that I'm going to talk about that I read that was a new release that was kind of but how I felt differently about that. So I'll tell you about that. But this was not, it wasn't bad. It was just, there's some things about it that was just like annoying. But other than that, not bad. So the next book that is an art. So this is the one that I got from NetGalley. And I'm surprised. All the books I put in for NetGalley, I requested 7 and I got approved so far. No, I requested 8 and I got approved so far for 6. I don't know how lucky I'm getting, but I'm getting lucky. So I did get an advance of Good Dirt. It's out now. It came out this week, Tuesday past. And this is Charmaine Wilkinson. This is her sophomore book. So her first book was Black Cake, and you know that was a popular one. So this one is this is where I feel like she was trying to be creative, and for me it worked. But initially when I got into this story, I was kind of like, where are we going with this kind of deal? And also I see where her writing style is very similar to Black Cake in a way, but I will talk about how differently I felt about it. So this is following the main character, Ibby, and Ibby is basically a survivor. At a young age, she and her brother was home when there was a home invasion, and resulted in her brother getting killed. So her brother was unalive, and she was witness. So the trauma of that over the years, so we're talking from 2000 to now 2018, she's getting married and her fiance never showed up. So there goes another moment in her life that she has to like repeatedly think about and go through. Why this story is interesting is because it talks about survivor. It talks about how your childhood trauma molds you and how the relationship with other people influence everything that you have experienced and your growth process. And in this, it she never got the moments that she needed to heal, in terms of heal in a way where she can live a normal life. She had those nightmares, those dreams, and therapy wasn't working. And this particular man noticed all of this, but didn't want to, didn't did what he needed to do to make her be aware of his feelings. Why the story is a little different is because it is now a racial issue, in terms of the father wanted this certain house and by the lake. It just so happened to be in a predominantly white community. They were the only black family in this wealthy community, and they themselves are, are very successful. Mother's a lawyer, father's an engineer, that kind of deal. But it comes with issues. It comes with, now you are looked at in a different way. When that incident happened, although they were victims, it was because you're black, that's why it happened to you, kind of deal. So that was a lot of things like that happening. So just imagine being a young child going through that discrimination that you experienced, and then you're still grieving everything else that's happening. Then your parents smothering you, that kind of deal. The story becomes interesting in terms of, very similar to this, is the heritage of the family is being told through a jar that is called Old Mo. And Old Mo jar is giving you back into the 1800s. And the different family that has been through, and the generational stories that comes with it. And that job become a significant part of the story and tied in the past with the present. Love that. I love the symbolic of the jar. I love the idea of things that was left in the jar. And there is a particular thing that I love where it says the mind cannot be chained. Love that. So I was so fascinated about the jar, and because of the historical content of it, draw me in, because I love historical content of books. I just love historical fiction, and I love that there's that digging of the past and the heritage of craft and of using certain materials, minerals to make these, and how significant it is in this. And I think because of me being somebody who likes to create, I was fascinated by the story of the jar, and that's what made this book works for me. I think if it was sticking to just E.B. current life and the saga of the ex and all that, I may not have loved it so much, but I think when they intertwined the jar in the story, it worked for me, and I really enjoy that. And I'm here for Grandma. I'm here for Grandma at that end. Grandma wasn't having it. She said, I'm going to determine who's going to tell my story, kind of deal. Yeah. So let's get to my first and last book we're going to talk about, book number 5. And it is the big book. So I did in December 5 big books I want to read. Yeah. So I read The Calvin and the Waters, is Adrian Verge, just I think. And so good. So good. So I wrote down some of the things in this because it is a big book, and you want to remember certain things. So this is a book that is a family saga. This is a 3-generational book, and it started in 1900 and it ended in 1977. And the 3 generations in this book are plagued with misfortune, disease, secrets, heartbreak, pain. And there's a lot of things happening in this that was sad. But what I loved is how it goes, because you started very much thinking this is going to be a certain kind of book, because you have big Amamachi, who is 12, and she's married off to this older man, and she didn't know what she's walking into, and come to find out she's basically intertwined in a family that has a mysterious things happening to them. But, people who have died from that's connected to water, and there's other things that's happening. And over the generation, over the years in this book, you discover certain things where is it more of a curse, or is it a family DNA situation that is causing all of this, or is it both? It is definitely, for me, I was like, oh yeah, them full of crosses, that kind of deal. But I love that she was young, but she had to grow up and learn fast. And there's a level of love that this woman had, that she took care of her family despite all the trauma, despite all the things, the misfortune and things that was happening to her. And she had 2 children, and one never quite grew up because of illness. And then she had her son, Filippo. So now he is the character in this that touched me the most. He's the character in this that I wanted to hug, and I felt so sorry for him in so many ways. And he is, he had that moments of wanting a certain career and then discovering something that hindered that. And then he also had this fear as well of being in a certain place. And, met someone who he absolutely loved. There is that connection, and I was rooting for them. I was absolutely rooting for them. And I felt there was that moment in the book where finally something good is happening to someone. And then, of course, that was short-lived. And I was so distraught by when I read part 5 of this. I had to put the book down for 2 days because I just could not handle what happened to him, because that's how much I was like, oh, I was feeling it for this man. And then in this, he also had children, and there's things that happen. And the woman in this that he met, Essie, when you meet someone who loves and their passion is more important than you or anyone else, it is hard to really get through a book and feel some kind of sympathy. There's that idea that karma really got this woman. I don't care. Karma got her real good, because she was very selfish and very much love her art. And it's just certain things that happened in this story where I was just like, that was selfish. That was hard. And there's that level of understanding that I really wanted to have, but I could not. But what I do know is Big Amamachi had love in her that she gave to her kids, because this granddaughter, Mariama, is love. That is when her character and how she handled discovering the family secrets and things, that was Big Amamachi's doing. I felt like that was her teaching, her how she loved, how she handled life difficulties. That was what she instilled in her granddaughter, because that moment, even to the very end, that level of compassion and that level of understanding, that has to be the work of someone that raised you well, to be able to do that. Because I don't know if I could. I really don't think I could. I don't think I would. It might have took a way long time, but I don't think I could. I like the little messages in this. I like there's those aha moments that I have that I was like, wow. But at the end, Filippo is still gonna be that character that just broke my heart. And even to the very end of his life, it's still like one of those yikes kind of moment. And this was so good. I'm really a huge fan of this book, and I loved how different it was, and I love how things connect. But there's a moment of time where I was like, Harper, who are these people? And I didn't really realize how it was going to connect at the end, and it connected so well where I was like, okay, makes sense. And then there's little things that I'm just going back and say, oh, I wonder if this person knew, that kind of deal, or was that comment meant because that person knew, that kind of deal. There's that moment that I'm thinking about with this, but this was so good. So I really recommend it. It you know, the hype was real, and the hype was definitely correct about this. And so definitely recommend you picking this one up. So that is it. That is the 5 books that I was able to complete. I did start a short story collection, didn't complete that. But we're going to continue this on in February, and I'm excited for the books that I'm going to be reading in February. And yeah, so let me know if you read any of these books, what you thought of them, what some of your favorite books that you've read in February. Let me know in the comment section, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.